Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cross Culture Critic. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
Welcome back.
Joe. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. You made this nice cup of tea.
I know.
It is
pineapple
fantastic.
green tea. I got it from the Garden State of Hawaii. I think New Jersey is the Garden State.
New Jersey is the Garden
What's
State.
What's Hawaii? The Rainbow State or something?
The Aloha State.
The Aloha State? Well, Aloha. And that's where this tea came from.
Okay.
And it's delicious.
It is very good. Very full flavored. The honey helps too.
Yeah, I think Hawaiian pineapple green tea with Michigan pure honey is delicious. They work well together.
Yes. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we got a big show for you today. A lot of stuff to go on. So we're just going to jump right into this. Joe, you were a fixture of the CCM scene.
I believe I was.
Contemporary Christian music, as they're calling it.
I think so.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but Christian pop culture and Christian music is a huge thing in the niche world I live in right now.
Okay.
There is a podcast that recently started called Good Christian Fun. I don't know if you've heard this podcast.
No.
This is actually, it's so much fun. It's by two people who grew up in Christian culture, and they're still people of faith, but it's an R-rated show.
Okay.
But they're revisiting 90s Christian culture a lot. So, yeah, they recently did an episode that was McGee and Me, which was this video series I watched growing up.
Okay.
During Christmas, they did the Amy Grant Christmas album. I believe they did a Supertones album. And they'll kind of go through and see, does this hold up? Is this good art, or is this something that we should kind of lose? So,
I hope they don't do the Insiders.
They haven't done the Insiders yet.
Okay.
They do a hunt and they actually really like the Supertones. They do a hunt for the worst Christian song of all time, which is great. And I think the reigning champ is Mood Rings by Reliant K.
Okay.
But there's been some pretty bad stuff in there. But that's just one way. I've seen a lot of Christian culture coming back. I'm also part of a group online, the Christ and Pop Culture group.
Okay.
Have you ever gone to that website?
Nope.
Okay, Christ and Pop Culture. I highly recommend it. It is one of the smartest websites out there. Actually, really smart takes about the intersection of faith and culture. And I had an article published there once on the last temptation of Christ. There's some really good writers, but there's this really great Facebook group that you're part of if you pay to support them each month. And so I do that, and it's been a really great group. It's how I met Joe Zaragoza, who appeared on our podcast, and I've appeared on his. And recently, we got to talking online about Christian music, 90s Christian music. And on our Facebook Live, I recently said I was a youth group kid.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to Christian music. It's all my parents let me listen to for a while. You were in a Christian band. I don't know how much you listened to Christian music when you were...
Not prior to. Growing up to me music, Christian music to me was to me, it was an unknown artist.
Okay.
Who, it was just any guy, Nashville, Tennessee, singing about, either an old hymn or Jesus running through a field of flowers.
So Fanny Crosby, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Bill Gaither. Like that.
Oh my gosh, Bill Gaither.
So the Bill Gaither trio, things like that. That was the Christian music that I knew. Then when I got into youth group, it was, DeGarmo and Key.
Oh my gosh, Boycott Hell.
It was Carman, Stephen Curtis Chapman, The Great Adventure. When I heard Stephen Curtis Chapman, The Great Adventure, that was to me, that's when I turned the first corner on Christian music. That I was like, wait a second. As funny as that sounds, because that is what I think a lot of the 90s music got away from. But for me, it was going and listening to the Bill Gaither trio to then Stephen Curtis Chapman. That sounded, I like country music. Mm-hmm. So listening to him was wait, this is normal country music. And then from that, I went with that for a while. And then it wasn't until I met my, my buddy Nate, and we started the Insyderz, and I just learned about all sorts of different bands from him. I remember one of the first bands that I knew of that was a Christian band was Strong Arm. It was a hardcore band. Okay. So Strong Arm and Zayo. And then I saw 7 Day Jesus and Plank Eye in Livonia. Okay. At the old place that we all used to play at Clarenceville Hall. And so like that's when I started like learning about that. I never had the in between. I went from Stephen Curtis Chapman to like, early as Tooth and Nail was, just beginning to go and the Insyderz. There was no in between. Our old manager Tim Tabor sang for the Prayer Chain. Like I never heard a Prayer Chain album. I never heard a Lost Dogs album. I never heard these kind of transitional between the Stephen Curtis Chapman and that 90s stuff, Altar Boys. I never listened to that stuff.
Okay.
So to me, that was my growing up.
Well, there might be a Spotify playlist for you then.
Yeah.
Because someone in that group took it upon themselves to compile what they consider the epic 90s CCM throwdown. And I might quibble because I don't think all of these are 90s, but it's close enough.
Okay.
And we're going to go through these. And it might be enough of a conversation starter where we just push some of our topics back.
Okay.
Because this is like my childhood, and there might
be a lot,
and there might be stories you have. So we're going to try not to go through all of them, but there's some fun ones on here. And it kicks off with a song I heard everywhere.
Now, is this the top 100?
No, it's 37 songs.
So 37, okay. And we're starting at 37.
I'm starting at 1 because they're not ranked.
They're not ranked. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So just a bunch of songs. And if you're listening at home and you remember any of these songs or you feel there's something they left off, let me know because I definitely would love to hear.
Get your pen and paper out because you're going to be iTunes in these songs.
Absolutely. So it kicks off with a song I heard everywhere, including at the movies and on the radio. And I hated it then, and I don't like it now.
What's that?
I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me. Oh, do you remember that song?
Is that I Can Only Imagine?
Yes.
Yes.
I once saw a cover for CCM magazine, and the headline, unironically, was Mercy Me Rocks. And my first thought was, no, they don't. They toured with Audio Adrenaline.
Yep.
And that was a song that just...
I can only imagine.
Surrounded by your glory. So that was like everywhere, and it was just it was cheesy, and it was kind of the song you'd hear someone sing special music at church, which was fine.
Uh-huh.
But then when it started invading everywhere in your life, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like my mom's following me everywhere.
Yeah.
Number 2, I used to like this song until Good Christian Fun nominated it as another of the worst Christian songs. Chris Rice's Cartoons.
I don't think I know that.
Oh my gosh, you got to Google this one later. This is him. It's just
I got to write these down. So Chris Rice Cartoons.
Cartoons. This is a goofy live song he used to do where it was like...
No, I know what it is.
I was thinking the other day, what if cartoons got saved?
Yes, I do remember that. And it was like Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
It was like Scooby-Dooby-Loo-ya.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
I think I do remember that.
And that was like I always thought it was fun.
No, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the one by we've talked about him before on this show. He's a friend of yours. Keep going on the list.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to. You're thinking of Jeff Moore.
Jeff Moore.
He's not a friend of mine.
I thought he was a friend of yours. That Scooby and Shaggy and his friends song.
Okay, yes.
That's what I'm
No,
thinking
this
of.
was he would go through and do impressions, but it was always whatever the catchphrase was.
Oh.
Hallelujah.
Oh.
So it was like
Ro Raggy Aruya.
Yeah, it was like Cowabungalooya, dude.
Oh no.
But the worst part was then he gets to Beavis and Butthead and he's just nah. Like Beavis and Butthead have to go to hell. So that's Cartoons.
That's great.
I will say that is a bad song. Chris Rice, though, one of my favorites.
Oh, absolutely.
I love Chris Rice. I think he's a great songwriter. 3, I still like this song. In the Light by DC Talk.
I love it.
DC Talk.
Gonna be in the light.
Yeah, that's a good song.
You are in the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. I need to write this one down.
Yeah, that's
actually I think I have that on my iPod.
Jesus Freak album is just a great album. Pray by Rebecca St. James.
Oh, Rebecca St. James is just I always wanted to tour with her because I was thinking if I toured with her,
You would marry her, right?
Marry her, yeah.
Yes, I remember I read about her in, I want to say it was Campus Life or something back when they had that, and I realized she was only like a year older than me. And I'm like, well, she's a Christian, and I'm a Christian.
So maybe we can make Christian babies.
You're telling me there's a chance.
And now her brother is in For King and Country.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, and For King and Country,
They're
are you
pretty
familiar
big.
with them? Yeah, they're huge, and her brother is in that. I'm almost positive.
Wow. What was interesting is I remember I read about her and was like, I got to get this girl's album so that when we meet, I can tell her.
Yeah.
I've been listening to you since the start, baby.
Yeah.
And she started off as like an Amy Grant type person, but then like the next album and everything on, she was suddenly Alanis Morissette. Like they grunged her up really quickly, and it was the first time I realized, oh yeah, so the Christian industry markets.
Oh yes,
like they have a certain thing.
Yes.
She is apparently retired now.
Yeah,
I have tried to get her on this podcast.
Really?
And,
oh my
no
word.
answers.
Oh.
So, Rebecca, come on, give us a call.
Seriously.
Number 5. This used to be my favorite group, Midnight Oil by Petra.
Oh,
I loved me some Petra.
Petra was the first Christian album I ever had.
Me too.
And my mom got it from a tape club. Remember those? Mm-hmm. Tape clubs?
Oh, I remember. Yep.
And then it was CD clubs. Yeah. And so we got one from there, and all I remember was the song, "It is finished. And the sky grew black as the night."
Oh, that might be before I started listening.
It is finished. And so that's the Petra song that I remember. And I used to listen to that tape like going to bed. Same thing, pop it in, listen to it. But yeah, Petra.
Oh, Petra's one of those groups that I went back to and tried to listen to ironically, like thinking it would be hilarious. And I'm like, oh no, I really like Petra.
Oh yeah?
Like, yeah, like This Means War is just such an 80s album, but so good. Beyond Belief is actually still a really good album.
Now, here's a little thing about Petra. If you go on YouTube and watch our He Has Made Me Glad video.
Okay. That's where you shout, "Who's your daddy?"
Yep, and that's like claymation. And the whole thing was when the guy came and like the artist came and like pitched his idea for this video, he's like, what it's going to be is you guys get mistaken for another big Christian group. And so this whole crowd shows up thinking it's them, and it's not. It's you guys. And then you guys are trying to escape from this big unruly crowd that's there to see this band and find out it's you. And so they're like, what band do you want it to be? And we were all like, Petra. So in it, they like the crowd is holding up signs that say Petra, and what's the song, the war one that you just said?
This Means War.
This Means War. They're holding up signs that say This Means War, Petra, all that stuff. And then they realize we're not Petra, and they chase us.
I've never seen that video before. Yep. So number 6, Testify to Love by Avalon. I think.
Oh, Avalon.
That might be like mom music right there.
Yeah, that is.
As well as the next song. But this was huge. I remember my dad singing this in church. Sandy Patty and Wayne Watson, Another Time, Another Place. Which was like, that was Islands in the Stream.
Yeah.
For Christians.
Yeah.
That was huge. I used to like Wayne Watson a lot too. Like
I couldn't even tell you anything that Wayne Watson sang.
It was dad music. It wasn't even dad rock. It was like dad ballads. Yeah, not quite Butterfly Kisses.
Now, didn't Sandy Patty go through a little choppy water?
Well, okay. No, it depends how you define choppy. She got a divorce, and I believe she tried to burn down her husband's recording studio. I should say, I don't know if that's verified, but I know she did go through a pretty messy divorce.
I would say that's choppy.
That would be choppy. I could be wrong on the details of the burning down of the place, but I seem to remember
there may have been an attempt arson.
There was an arson somewhere in there.
Okay.
But she's doing good now. She just retired.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was.
No. I thought the Insyderz had retired. So number 8, My Good Friend, and you will remember this at every Christian wedding you may have gone to in the 90s. Jeff Moore in the Distance, If You Could See What I See.
I don't think I remember this.
Oh my gosh, I used to have to run sound from my church.
Sing it for me.
If you could see what I see. It's about how his wife thinks she's ugly.
Oh,
but
really?
he's like, no, you got a great personality. I mean, that's really, it's really the song
I don't
about,
see the lazy eye. I just see the woman inside.
it's really, I mean, that's the song about how his wife thinks she is not beautiful, and it's just, if you could see how much I love you, and
it doesn't matter about your slack jaw.
It's a fine song, but I'm like, I was listening to it on the way over, because I knew we were going to be talking about this. I'm like, I don't think there's a verse where he's like, and by the way, you're also beautiful and hot, and I'm like, my wife would want me to say, I told my wife the other week, I'm like, I wouldn't have dated you if I didn't think you were attractive.
Right.
He needs to throw that verse in there.
Yeah.
That's
hysterical.
Number 9, friends of the show that no one ever got to hear, Perseverance of the Saints by the OC Supertones.
Supertones are always good stuff. I like early Supertones. So I like The Adventures of the OC Supertones, their first album. I love Supertones Strike Back. After that, I didn't listen to them as much.
It gets a little more rocky.
It gets a little bit more rocky, and I always joke, Jason Carson, their drummer, and I are friends, and I always joked with him that like they turned into like, once their albums started selling like crazy, they turned into like 45-year-old divorced woman rock. And so like it's like that's who they appealed to. They weren't going for like the teenage kids anymore. It's like it's almost like they
were going for youth groups. They were going for the church crowd.
Yeah, and it seemed to go a different way. So it was kind of weird, but I love their first two and their later ones, which I believe that one's off. That song comes off one of their later albums.
It is actually off the Supertones Strike Back.
Wait, which one?
Perseverance of the Saints.
Perseverance of the Saints?
According to this, it's off Supertones Strike Back. This is where I can finally admit it. You know this, and I think I admitted it on another podcast I was on. I interviewed Matt Morginski for this podcast. I talked to him for a half hour this summer. We had a great talk about faith and politics and everything, and then the audio never took, and that has been my secret shame for 6 months.
And that's what I heard from you, that it was a fantastic interview.
It was a great interview. He was so awesome.
Yeah, Mojo, he is, boy, he's a guy. He doesn't hold back, and he believes what he believes, and he's fantastic at getting that across.
I think my big thing with Supertones that I loved was I was a big-time Calvinist in my 20s, and they were like the Calvinist Christian band. Like, not just Christian, but they were singing like about election and things like that. I'm like, they're singing the truth! All right, we're going to take a hard right here, because is there anything more fitting that you could imagine than moving from the OC Supertones to Mary Did You Know by Mark Lowry?
Oh, Mary, did you know that your babe... Is that the one?
That is it. And it's probably most famous for being sung by people other than Mark Lowry.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, because as I started singing it, I was thinking like, wait, I think that's Amy Grant.
Everyone has sung that song. But Mark Lowry wrote it, which is kind of funny because when he wrote it, he was known as being, Christian's Gallagher.
Yeah, comedian.
And I saw Mark Lowry in concert once, and I remember laughing. I was middle school, and that's probably about the right age for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark Lowry, he hosts a podcast now as well.
Does he?
Yeah, I don't know what he talks about, but I don't think because last I heard, he wasn't trying to be funny anymore. He had moved on from the comedian thing. Number 11 is probably like the most 90s Christian song. Michael W. Smith, probably the gold standard to get for this show sometime, and we're never going to get him. Place in This World.
Oh, I love it. I love Michael W. Smith.
I do like Michael W. Smith.
Love it. And like when we used to play festivals with him, because we never played on a bill with him, but we played festivals, and man, I always made sure that I was there. I had one instance with him.
I think you've talked about it on this show.
All right, so I won't continue to blab about it, but I had one instance with him where his management wasn't too happy with me, but I loved, like, his voice is amazing, everything. So My Place in This World is a great song.
See, now I like old Smitty. Eye to Eye, Go West Young Man, Change Your World. worship leader, Michael W. Smith, not as much of a fan of.
Not as much?
And did I ever tell you my story about going to the concert where he would say, you know, guys, sometimes I wake up and I think, like, I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy to be following God, and I'm too much of a sinner. And then I get up and I look in the mirror and I remember I'm a child of God, and I'm like, Michael, you're a stud. And that kind of affected my view of him, but I do love old Michael W. Smith. Big Picture is an awesome album.
I just love. And then, what's the one? Young Man Up on the Hillside.
Secret Ambition. I love that.
I don't care how old I am.
That's a great song.
Oh, that's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I like him. Number 12 was another group I don't know why I was big into this group, because they were definitely dad music, but it was For Him, Where There Is Faith.
Yeah.
For Him, I went through a For Him phase, and I do not know why.
See, a lot of these bands, I'm not familiar with their music. I'm familiar with the people and because, like, we would play with them at festivals. You know, so it'd be like, oh, on this stage, you know, Insyderz, you're after Avalon and right before For Him. You know what I mean?
That would have been whiplash.
I'm not necessarily saying that's how it was, but, like, that's how, you know, it would roll. Like, you'd get to a festival and you'd look at it and you'd see all these bands and you'd catch maybe a song here or there. Or if you came up after somebody, you might see the last 3 songs of their set. And so I'm not familiar with like For Him songs or Avalon, but I definitely remember, you know, you'd always get free CDs, like, you know, so I remember their CDs and their, you know, the name and seeing them and all that stuff.
I think my dad sang in a bunch of quartets, and that's why I started listening, because he didn't like me listening for a while to rock or rap. Even though he loved Queen and Chicago and stuff, those were all his jams, I was not allowed to have a DC Talk CD.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, he bought me a Glad album instead of DC Talk. So yeah, that's Where There Is Faith by For Him. Number 13, another recent nominee for the Worst Christian Song by Good Christian Fun. Stephen Curtis Chapman, Got to Be True.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That is off The Great Adventure. It is his rap song, where he raps with Toby Mac. And I actually dig this song because it's supposed to be bad. It's supposed to be a bad rap.
I can't stand, like, that's the one I can understand. I'm down with fusing rap into, like, any style of music. You know, like, if a punk band wants to have like the Transplants, they do a fantastic thing where they got this, you know, this punk hip hop thing going. It sounds great. You can't do it with country music. And, like, Stephen Curtis Chapman, or there's oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. I always blank when I start thinking of stuff. There's, like, a popular song out right now, or in the last, you know, 6 months, year, in country music, where it's the same thing. Like, the guy goes, chew tobacco, spit.
Oh, gosh.
And, like, that's how his, like, rap ends. But he's trying to rap over, like, country music, and I can't stand when they mix the two. And that's Stephen Curtis Chapman. I couldn't stand that.
I liked that as a kid. It has been a long time since I've listened to that one. Number 14, friends of the show, Five Iron Frenzy, O Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Fun song.
Perfect.
I can't say more about it. It's a fun song.
I can't say one bad thing about Five Iron, because I love them as guys. I would take a bullet for any of them. They're some of the best friends I've made on tour, and the tours that we had together, they are so much fun. I didn't hear their last album, like their last album that came out that was a Kickstarter project.
Oh, Engine of a Million Plots?
Yeah,
I like that album a lot.
Yeah, I never heard it. I think I heard one song that, like, they released as, like, a video, but I mean, how can you not like Five Iron?
Yeah.
Those guys are just great.
Yeah, I like them a lot. Number 15, I actually like this song a lot, even though the band as they are now I don't care for. Newsboys, Shine.
Oh, yeah.
Old Newsboys.
Shine.
Yes.
I wonder what you got. Yeah, that was a great one. That was a real good one.
That was, I remember when I talked to Steve Taylor a few months back, which you can listen to. Go back and listen to it in the archives. He had nothing but great things to say about the Newsboys. And you can tell when he was writing with the Newsboys on Going Public, Not Ashamed, I think. Going Public, there was an earlier one, and then Take Me to Your Leader. those are good albums.
Yeah.
Like his songwriting like sticks out on that. He just had
for sure. Yep.
Weird songwriting that just worked for them. And then their lead singer left, and Michael Tate came over from DC Talk. They became a worship band.
Yeah.
And I have no interest now.
And now it's basically Audio A, Newsboys, like a mixture.
They do concerts together all the time.
Yeah.
And I know Kevin Max was in Audio Adrenaline for a bit, and then he dropped out, and he's actually really good on his own right now. Number 16, Undo Me by Jennifer Knapp.
Oh, yeah, Jennifer Knapp.
Came really close to getting her on this show. And then, for whatever reason, her publicist was setting it up and so excited, and then never heard back.
Then nothing.
So get back with me, because I would love to talk to Jennifer Knapp.
Absolutely.
She has such a good, interesting story.
Absolutely, she does.
And you can seek that out on other shows, but just her journey has been really good, and her music is still really, really, really good. Number 17 is one of the most beloved Christian worship songs of all time. It is Awesome God. It is not the Rich Mullins Awesome God that you all know and love. It is the Dove Award-winning Insyderz Awesome
Bam! Insyderz Awesome God. We made it.
You made the list.
Oh, wow.
So,
I think this is the first list we've ever made.
Well, I will confess, because we're friends, and I can let you know this, I have heard a lot of people hear that song in the past, and they're like, what did they do to Awesome God?
Well, here's the thing. When we did that song, like, here we are, like, we're youth group kids, and the chorus obviously is what everybody knows.
Yeah, and the lyrics, the verses
suck.
Yes.
And so as like kids, we were like, let's write new verses. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. We trimmed what we thought was the fat of the Rich Mullins, the crappy verses. I mean, like, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I mean, I thought the lyrics were crap.
They were bad.
Like the verses.
Putting on the Ritz. Like, anytime you can replace that with a Young Frankenstein quote, probably not the best. And I love Rich Mullins. Rich Mullins was great.
Right.
This might be heresy. I don't think Awesome God was his best song.
No.
By a long way.
I mean, the chorus. The chorus is amazing. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. We were like, we want to write something. And there was another hardcore band called Unashamed. Mm-hmm. Which Jason Carson from the Supertones actually was their drummer, like right toward the end of their career.
Okay.
Well, Unashamed would do this amazing version, like hardcore version, our God. And so when you listen to us, when we go off at the end of that and we get all hard, all we're doing is we're trying to do what Unashamed did, and in our own way, kind of paying homage to Unashamed's version. And so we were like, dude, we have to do this. We have to do this chorus like kind of the way Unashamed would do it. But we hated the verses. So, I went in the bedroom for 15 minutes and knocked out some verses. And I was like, you know what? These will suffice.
Here's the funny thing. I think you spent more time on verses than Rich Mullins did, because I've heard that he wrote Awesome God. He had the chorus. And he was in a car driving and seeing like these wheat fields and imagining a preacher saying like, oh yeah, when God rolls up his sleeves, he ain't putting on the Ritz. He's like, oh, brilliant.
So
I dig your guys' version. I like your guys' version.
Well, thank you. So we enjoyed it. We enjoyed doing it. That's when we were on Squint with Steve Taylor, and we got to do that. That was on our Scallyluja, and we won a Dove Award.
Did you have to share it with Rich Mullins?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. And my story behind it, I love that I can, to people that care that I won a Dove Award. I don't even know where the Dove Award is. I think it's in a box
I asked you about that once.
At my ex-wife's house or her dad's garage. I mean, I don't know where it is. Hopefully one day I'll get it back. But I kind of think surrounding it, the only reason we got a Dove Award is because Rich Mullins had passed away.
Oh, he had passed by then.
Yeah, that was like the year he passed away. So there was like a big thing about that. And then all of a sudden the Dove Awards come rolling around, and we had done this song that did garner a lot of attention, but he had passed away. And so I think it was just a real nice thing to kind of, his name wasn't up for anything else at that time, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was able to kind of what do they call it? Posthumous.
Posthumously, yeah.
Give him an award to be able to do that and recognize, again, like a great song that he did that we just kind of butchered, and altogether, I think it just kind of worked.
Now, did you get to attend the Dove Awards ceremony?
We did as a band. I didn't because I was on my honeymoon.
Oh.
But the guys got called up, and they all walked up. My mom took my place at the Dove Awards. My mom and my sister, I believe, went. And so when the band got called up, like, they got to go up and, like, they used to air the Dove Awards on television.
Yeah, they did.
And so we were, like, earlier in the day, like that, those groups, like awards that were handed out earlier in the day.
You got to be at a luncheon.
Right. And so
Tammy Faye Baker.
Right. So it showed, like, I don't know if it did or not, but I'm guessing it showed like a still of like the band on stage, like accepting their award, in a split second before it went to the next one. But we won that. And then we were in the running for best CD packaging, and also best video for our He Has Made Me Glad, the claymation that I said. And we lost out on the video to, I think, Jars of Clay. And we lost out to packaging to Sixpence None the Richer.
What is packaging? Is it just the picture you have on the album?
The artwork, the packaging. They hand out awards for everything. So.
I don't even think like the Grammys does anything like that.
I'm sure they do. That's one of the ones that were awards won earlier.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, during the brunch.
Yes. Well, that's awesome. Number 18. You're actually right next to another Five Iron Frenzy. Handbook for the Sellout, which again,
fantastic.
Another great one.
First, you press play on their new album, Upbeats and Beatdowns had come out, and then their new album came out, and which was our newest album ever. And as soon as you press play, the first one was Handbook for a Sellout, and that was just fantastic.
Number 19, your big one, The Great Adventure.
Oh, I did.
Which, when you just hear "Saddle Up Your Horses,"
saddle up your horses.
Yeah,
we got a trail to blaze.
Well, and I remember too, like the album had this prologue, this like cinematic prologue that he had composed, and then it goes into that. I've probably outgrown his music, and I know we pick on him a lot here. I dig Stephen Curtis Chapman. I respect the heck out of him.
He was the one guy I wish I would have met on tour. And I think I've talked about it before. The one time that we played with him at a festival where we were there at the same day and everything like that, he didn't leave his tour bus. And so, like, our truck was parked next to his, and I kind of hung around for a little while, like waiting for him to come out to be able to introduce myself. And he never left the tour bus until he sang that night. He
was probably like, "Oh, the Insyderz are going to talk to me, and they're going to want to, they're going to want me to play with them." And
what's funny is I think it was Reliant K that night. It was Reliant K, then us, then another band, and then Stephen Curtis Chapman like headlined it.
Okay.
But we had to play and leave. We had to head out to wherever we were going the next day. And I never got to say what's up to him.
First concert I ever attended was Stephen Curtis Chapman, Great Adventure.
Yeah?
Yep. Hill Auditorium, Ann Arbor.
Oh, there you go.
Number 20 is a song you guys have covered, but it is not your version. It is Darlene Zsch's Shout to the Lord, which, if you have attended a Baptist church any time in the past 20 years, you have sang 20 times.
Yeah.
That was one I really liked when it first came out, and then we sang it every week.
Yeah, and then it just got beat in the ground.
Shout to the Lord.
You know what I wanted to just do? I wanted to go, shout to the Lord, and you're to blame, darling, you get... Yeah, that's like what clicked in my head. But, yeah, that was a good song when it came out. Again, that's one of those ones that, I'm kind of... If I don't hear it for another 20 years, maybe in 20 years when I hear it, I'll be like, oh, yeah, that used to be a good song.
No, probably not. I think we're going to get to heaven and try and sing it, and God's going to be like, no, I've heard it.
Let us sing power. Yeah, that one. I don't know. Maybe I do like it.
Maybe you sang it.
Yeah.
Number 21, Ultimate Dad Christian band, Phillips Craig and Dean, Mercy Came Running.
Oh.
They're like country.
Yeah.
22. This song was huge when I was in high school. Not just on Christian radio. This was like a huge hit, like across everything. Stomp by Kirk Franklin and God's Property.
Yeah.
It's
Stomp.
huge. Yeah.
Almost just to say, Stomp. Yeah. That whole album went huge, like nationally and crossed over, and yeah.
Yeah, what's crazy is I don't listen to a ton of Christian music now, but Christian rap is really good.
Like Lecrae.
Lecrae. I really like Sho Baraka.
I don't know any of these guys. I know Lecrae, but I don't know anybody else.
Lecrae's really good. But yeah, Kirk Franklin, he was like... I don't know if a lot of my friends listened to him because they wanted to listen to Toby Mac. And I like Toby Mac, but he's not Kirk Franklin. And I always liked it when he would be like, turn me up on my microphone so I can bless God's people.
See, like that's the thing, though, with that gospel choir-y thing that Kirk Franklin did is... Like, to me, there's strength behind it. Like, when you're just, like, 3 kids, like, in a punk band and you're singing, like, that's what it sounds like. But when you're, like, the leader of a band and the leader of a choir and you got a choir behind you and you got... Like, it just seems... you get hit with a wall of music and you get hit with that power and you feel the energy of each one of those people that are in the choir. And then if you've ever seen a gospel choir perform, like... I know at Country Music Awards and obviously Dove Awards and different things like that, people will bring out like the gospel choirs in the robes for an effect. I know Jay-Z has done it in songs and stuff like that. And the effect is definitely captured. You know, I mean, those are great things. So I think like that Kirk Franklin album, like if Kirk Franklin just came out and like just sang like he was Sam Cooke, like just a piano and Kirk Franklin, that wouldn't be Kirk Franklin. The fact that he did it with that choir and, was yelling and, any breakdowns and stuff, he's, are you ready, people? And all that stuff. It gives it that something.
Well, speaking of that something and charisma and appeal.
What's next?
Number 23, the stirring America Again by Carman.
Carman. I don't know what to say about Carman.
Oh, what not to say about Carman.
I can honestly say I wouldn't know a Carman song if you said, hey, this is Carman and played it. When I was in youth group, we had a huge Carman poster that was in the youth group room. And I'm sure they played it, but I would not know that it was Carman that was being played.
Oh, I will have to admit... Embarrassingly, I had Carman albums. I had the one where it started, "Who's in the house? JC!" And it was like the first line of the rap was, he was born to a virgin named Mary on Christmas Day. He bled and he died on the cross to take sin away. Oh gosh, it was bad. America.
I want that as my ringtone. You saying that, I want as my ringtone.
That was the album he ended with this song, America Again, which was not even a song. It's him, well, I guess he had a chorus he sang, but it's his, like, patriotic, like, the only thing that's going to happen is when we put God in the schoolhouse and put him in the White House, and I, just this weekend, coincidentally, I wanted to know what Carman was up to. I don't know why. I just got hit with nostalgia. I'm like, what has Carman been up to?
Was he like a school teacher?
No, he actually still tours. He gives free concerts. His concerts have always been free, but then he like has people pay for like these kits to take back to their churches and stuff.
Okay.
But the last thing I saw by him, he actually got married recently too. I think that's why it made me think of that.
To his fourth wife?
Yes, no, it's his first wife. He's old, I think. So now there's a car woman. But I heard someone make that joke. I can't. That was not original. But a year ago, he did put out a new song, The President Trump Blues. Him singing about how he's gonna make America great again and we'll be supporting President Trump.
Seriously, that's how it went?
I don't think that's how it went. I put it on my Facebook, but it's
like
the
President Trump blues.
It's like totally pro-Trump, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. What kind of breaks my heart is we go from Carman, which also I will just put out there, rent the movie The Champion starring Carman if you ever want some good entertainment in your life. But you go from Carman to what was maybe my all-time favorite group ever.
Really?
Hope to Carry On by Caedmon's Call.
Oh, yeah.
I was huge Caedmon's Call.
Yeah, they're good.
And I think this is a remake of a Rich Mullins song, actually. Rich Mullins actually not on the list. It's all remakes of his stuff. But Caedmon's Call was the best.
Yeah,
40
they
Acres
were.
is still one of my favorite albums.
Yep.
I was a big fan of Derek Webb for a while when he
Yep.
went off on his own until he kind of had some issues. But yeah, Caedmon's Call, that was my jam. That's still my jam. I love Caedmon's Call.
Yeah, we played with them a lot.
They were good. 25, this is like maybe the most youth group song ever. Big House by Audio Adrenaline.
Oh, I do like it. It's a big house with lots and lots of rooms. And then the youth group did the hand motions.
Yeah, we played football.
We played touchdown, and all that stuff. It's a big table with lots and lots of food. Yeah, that was a good one.
I liked Audio Adrenaline. He blew his voice out. I think that's why he stopped, Mark Stewart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he retired because he was like putting strain on his vocal cords.
Oh.
He does a lot of missionary work now.
Oh, good for him.
But yeah, I liked Audio Adrenaline a lot. Big House was like the best.
Yeah.
26, Consuming Fire by Third Day.
Third Day.
Mac Powell. They sound like they're kind of
Yeah.
kind of a Pearl Jam knockoff sound.
Yeah. Third Day. Yeah, I remember them.
I haven't listened to them in years, but I used to love them. This was, "Our God, He is consuming fire." It was their first big hit. I liked it. 27, I don't know if this qualifies as a Christian song. It was very controversial in my home. Baby Baby by Amy Grant.
Oh, baby.
Yes.
Anything Amy Grant, I'm fine with.
That was hugely controversial in my house.
I love Amy Grant's voice.
I do too, but she went from being
Melts me.
Pure Christian singer to doing Heart in Motion, which was her quote-unquote non-Christian album. And her video for Baby Baby, she's kissing someone who wasn't Gary Chapman.
Oh.
And it was scandal. It was like legitimate
I remember
scandal.
the scandal. I do remember that.
Baby Baby, I remember that song.
I remember thinking, why is there a scandal? Like, she's acting in a video. Like, I was a kid, and I was like, it's an actor. Like, what's the deal? But, then I grow up, and I realize what the Christian scene is. And you're like, yeah, it's an actor. It's not her husband.
Well, and she's not singing about Jesus. She's singing about, unless it's like Jesus. Because that was the thing. You just change all the babies to Jesus.
Right.
So maybe that's what it was.
Right.
But yeah, we were not allowed to listen to this album for a while.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was, dirty Amy Grant.
Yeah, she's a slut.
Oh, gosh. What I was allowed to listen to was number 28, Breakfast by the Newsboys.
Yep.
That was a good one. That's still, that was one, the podcast I was listening to put it up as a nominee for Worst Christian Song, and I kind of got mad, because I'm like, that is a clever song. I like Breakfast.
Yeah, it was good. Wasn't that another
Steve Taylor
song?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Number 29, My Redeemer Lives by Darlene Zurich. I Know My Redeemer Lives. That's... yeah.
No, she knocks out some good
stuff. She does,
stuff.
but I don't think we ever sang that at church, so I don't know it as well. Maybe I do. I feel like someone else sang that, though. I could be wrong. But anyways, number 30 is Jesus Freak, which I still love.
What would people think that I'm a Jesus freak?
I had a Jesus Freak shirt I would wear to
Sure
school
you did.
because I was afraid that, I didn't care. But I was afraid they were going to, see my Jesus Freak shirt and be like, you need to get out of my school. You don't wear that. And they didn't do it.
Right. You so wanted to just be martyred.
You would just walk around with, your chest puffed out.
Right.
Or I'd wear I had a Lord's Gym shirt. Do you remember that?
Oh, heck yeah. I wanted one, but I couldn't.
Oh, I had
His
one.
Pain, Your Gain.
His Pain, Your Gain with, and it was bloody. I don't,
That's why I wanted it. My parents were like, no.
No one ever said anything to me about it. But today I'm still wondering, I wore a shirt that just had blood all over it. Why didn't anyone say anything to me?
Because it was bad lad.
But Jesus Freak, I love that song. That's a good song. I love that whole album.
Yeah, it's good.
31, do you remember Point of Grace? Keep the Candle Burning?
Yep. I don't remember the song, but I remember the band.
Mom Rock.
Yep, Mom Rock. That's exactly what it was.
32, Newsboys Again, I'm Not Ashamed. I'm not ashamed to let you know. That was another one we would sing all the time because we were not ashamed. You could not take God away from me.
Right.
He's not a secret to be kept, people.
Right.
That was a whole big thing, was gearing us up to go to school because they were all going to laugh at you.
Right.
Our church was like Carrie's mom from Carrie.
Right.
They're all going to laugh at you.
Right. That, you know what? it's funny, not to go off on a big tangent from the list, but it is funny, like, kids don't realize, like, we put a lot of doubt and a lot of the whatever in their minds. Like, my daughter, she'd just go to school and, like, bust out her Bible. Like, if it was, like, time to read, like, Dad, I'm going to read my Bible at school today during read time. And I'm like, well, you understand what comes with it, you know? And suddenly she's like, oh, so I should, what? And so, like, that I've not interfered, like, with my daughters in any of that stuff, you know, by, like, raising questions or anything, because I don't want them to think, like, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we talked on our Facebook Live recently about See You at the Pole. And I remember, like, when we would gather beforehand to, like, okay, we're going to go out to See You at the Pole on Wednesday. It was never like, now remember, pray for your fellow students, pray for this need, pray for this. It was like, no, they're all going to laugh at you, and they're not going to know why you're out there. You would, like, go back and trade your persecution story.
Yeah, and your friends could have cared less.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you did that thing at the pole today? And you're like,
I had some people ask me, like, why were you praying to the flagpole? But other than that, like, the response, and this has been the same thing in my professional career. You know, someone's like, oh, you go to church? Uh-huh. Cool. You know, that's about it.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't even know this one. Sha-La-La by Javelina Rail Company?
Oh, heck yeah, Javelina. They were fantastic.
I have never heard of them. That might be the only one I haven't heard of.
Look them up. They were so ahead of themselves.
Okay.
That was their downfall. Their downfall, Javelina Rail, I believe, did 2 albums, and they were their first one was just fantastic. And I'm gonna write it down because I haven't heard it in years. But I remember it was one that I listened to over and over, like on tour and stuff. They're unlike anything at the time, and it was just new, and it was almost like folky, like the music that they played was almost like what a bunch of hobos would be playing in the back of a boxcar.
Oh, that would be huge right now. It's like Mumford & Sons.
Exactly. Perfect. They were Mumford & Sons in 1995.
Oh, I might have to go back and find that.
They're great.
Yeah.
They are great.
Good.
Yeah.
Number 34, great too. Probably still one of my favorite bands. Jars of Clay, Flood.
Yeah, that's the one that I was talking about earlier that beat us out for one of the Dove Award, the best video.
I like that song, but the thing is, like, I've listened to Jars of Clay ever since. I still listen to Jars of Clay. That song is the most un-Jars of Clay song. Like, it sounds nothing like the rest of the stuff they've done. But I do like that
Jars
song.
of Clay was the first band, like, when that mid to late 90s Christian music was just banging and bands were like trying to cross over into mainstream, they were the first band to like, wow, they're on MTV.
Yep.
You know, so
89X,
like,
I heard them on.
Yeah, exactly. So they were like on 89X, they were on MTV, all that stuff. And so like by Jars of Clay being on MTV allowed like the Supertones to be on MTV. And then all the bands like after that. So like Jars of Clay kind of like busted in that door to let a lot of bands cross over.
Jars of Clay was good. Still like Jars of Clay. We'll just go through the next 3 because they're all people we've talked about before. Number 35, Go West, Young Man. Love that one.
Yeah.
36, Take Me to Your Leader by the Newsboys.
Yeah.
Another good one.
Yeah.
And number 37, he finally gets redemption. It's a good song. Deep Enough to Dream by Chris Rice.
Okay.
I like that one a lot.
I do like Chris Rice. Like, just I am a Chris Rice fan.
Yeah, I do like him. I feel like he is kind of... He doesn't do music anymore. I follow him on Twitter. He paints now.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I feel like he was kind of, in many ways, the next Rich Mullins. Just in terms of, I think his writing was very simple. Like, he talked about simple things and poetic things.
Yeah.
And I dug him. I dug him a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
He was good. So yeah, that is that. I thought we'd spend 5 minutes on this, and we gave it a whole episode. We're gonna push back some of the other stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Next time we have some stuff coming from our old friend Luis Carlos, and also friend of the show, fiend of the show, maybe Jared Collins.
Ugh,
I know.
Jared.
So we have some questions from them we'll get to on the next episode. But this was fun. This was a trip down my memory lane.
Yeah, this is great.
I think there's a lot to talk about with youth group culture, Jesus junk, in the future.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
In the meantime, where are you at online, Joe?
You can see me on Facebook at Jerk Yorkie. You can catch me pretty often on calcagnoradio.com and right here at the Cross Culture Critic podcast.
You can find all my writing at crossculturecritic.com. You can find me on Twitter at cdubs727. And you can also listen to me on the It's My Favorite podcast, which I think launches back up probably this week or next week. So we will see you next week.
See you.